Hello, Tesla.
he's
Sweet. You can't, can you
he
see me?
is he is and he can see you, but he's quite surprised that I
Ah,
just I
and
just
how
put him
and
in
how
my.
old is Tesla?
He is 6 years old. He's gonna
Six
be six
years.
years old in December. I just named him after my physicists, all of them. So Carl Sagan, and
Right.
he's after Nikola Tesla.
Excellent.
And he's been, yeah, he's this is his little office. Otherwise, he doesn't let me work.
Hello and welcome to the Cloud Therapist channel. I'm Richard Simon. Today, I'm very pleased to be able to bring you the second part of my talk with Kubermatic. We'll be focusing on a demo of the Kubermatic Kubernetes Platform, or KKP. Let me introduce you to Damian from Kubermatic, and Damian will be actually taking us through the demo. Hello, Damian. How are you doing?
Hello, Richard. Very happy to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me and having us. Very pleased and looking forward to give you a glimpse upon what we do.
Fantastic, absolute pleasure. Yeah, so I think what would be good is if you can just do a quick sort of intro of yourself, your role at
Sure.
Kubermatic, and also just kind of very briefly on who Kubermatic is.
Sure. So my name's Damian Marquez. I'm a senior solutions architect at Kubermatic. I am currently located in Bogota, Colombia. So that's gonna make more sense in a moment. So Kubermatic, we are a leading expert in container and cloud native technologies. We have been working since 2016, working mostly in improving the way that container technologies and cloud native technologies are being used in enterprise environments. We are fully open source and we are very, very community driven. So we are a team of 70, 80 plus employees spread all around the world. Our main headquarters are located in Hamburg, Germany, but again, everywhere. We have people ranging from Nigeria all the way to South America, which is me.
Fabulous. Okay, so a truly global sort of startup company. Fantastic. So
Yes, we value differences and we value that diversity that bringing people from different backgrounds actually puts on the table. So it's really exciting. Yeah.
Fabulous. Okay, so yeah, so as I said, we're focusing on KKP today. So just before we start the demo, can you kind of give us sort of three main features very quickly of KKP?
Sure. So KKP stands for Kubermatic Kubernetes Platform, and what it is, it's a multi-cluster managing tool that it's built to work with hundreds of clusters fully containerized, automating all of the features that you have in the normal life cycle of a Kubernetes clusters, but actually providing you an user interface, the ability to work with REST API, and working with a lot of out-of-the-box monitoring tools. So the most important features that we have to offer with this one is that it centralizes multi-tenancy and multi-cloud architectures, hybrid architectures, and prem architectures to a single locations. It provides you with all this cluster management, configuration automation, lifecycle managing, white labeling, and in any cloud native technology and world, everything that is good about it, auto scaling, self-healing, blueprinting, and we're working towards making this jump from DevOps to GitOps culture via this KKP platform.
Fantastic. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive into the demo.
All right. So what you're seeing here in the screen is the main entry point to the KKP platform. So today, Richard, what I'm going to show you is two different labs that I have. One, that is a very small lab that I prepared specifically for us today, in which I can actually show you the AWS console and some of the features in real time. And another one that is one of my enterprise labs, in which I can show you the capability that KKP has in multi-cloud, multi-tenancy, and white labeling.
Cool, sounds good.
So Without further ado, let me log in. So you're going to have the ability to connect this to any SSO provider. In this particular lab, I don't have it because it's very, very small, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So what you're seeing here is the main welcoming window. You're going to be able to see all the clusters that you have created if you have SSH keys, all the members of your organization, and the service accounts that you have created for any whitelisting that you have. So the way that we work in a multi-tenancy environment is that we try to make this platform as self-service friendly as it could possibly be, which means that we can create subdivisions between the clustering in several different ways. So when you go into the top, you're going to be able to create a project. So a project, it's essentially just a division that you have in which you can create projects, clusters around that. So I'm just going to create one, but I'm not going to deep dive into it because it takes a while to create some of the clusters.
Sure.
So let's select it as cloud demo. And once you create it, you're going to get an ID that is going to be equivalent to the cluster ID that you have. So when you go into this cloud demo, you're going to be seeing everything that is around your cluster. So now KKP has the ability to connect to existing clusters for you to gain visibility of other clusters that you have. If you have them in an on-prem environment, if you have them in another cloud environment, you're actually going to be able to connect it. Now, you're only going to be able to connect it and have visibility, because as in Kubernetes doesn't really make sense to have two master clusters working at the same time. You're going to have visibility, so you can start migrating the load from one place to the other. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to create a cluster in this one. Okay. So once you have your project created, you're just going to create a cluster. And in this lab, as I have it in here with my AWS console, I'm going to create it directly into this one. So I'm going to select the provider, and I'm going to select my data center, which in this case is going to be Frankfurt. So I'm going to select my cluster name, which you can randomize it, but select anything that you want. And you can select your kubelet version here. So this is very important because all the life cycle is fully automated. So if you want to create it in a previous version, just for you to test some functionality, and you want to upgrade it in the future without actually having downtime to production, you're welcome to do that. So I'm just going to create it in 119.0, and I'm going to hit next. Once I hit next, I'm gonna go back to the basic information that I'm gonna have about my account, how my account is gonna get created, right? So you're gonna have the presets that you have, which means that you can save this information, access key, secret access for different cloud providers, in case you just want people to use a specific service account with a specific subset of secrets. As I don't have one, I'm just going to put my access key ID here, my AWS secret key in here as well. And that's it. It's automatically going to connect to my AWS account, and it's going to detect the most suitable VPC that I have. Right. Now, if you have tight control over this, and thinking in a bigger world where you have hundreds of clusters, you can select the VPC that you want, and you can select your security group if you want to specify one, the root table IDs. And this is very, very important. As you can work with MIDs, you can also select instance profile names and the control planes for your clusters. So I'm just going to leave this as default in the interest of time and hit next. Yeah. So then you're going to go to your node configuration. I'm just going to select a randomized name, and I'm gonna create a cluster of 3 replicas. I'm gonna select this at Ubuntu, the smallest machines that I can. Now, again, you can select whatever machine you want based on AWS. So if you wanna select the quadruple extra large with extra spices, you're welcome to do that, but I'm just gonna select the small one. You manage all of the configuration of your machines. You can manage directly from here. And here, as you see, you got the MIID. So now this is a key feature, meaning that in an enterprise world where you can run with blue-green architectures that you go through a production environment, and you want to work with golden images, you can create your cluster directly with the golden image of your application and have it running just like that after you create the cluster. Meaning that in the future, the upgrades of the application are going to be the same way. So I'm going to just hit next. You're going to get the summary of your application, and I'm just going to create a cluster. Now, once the cluster is created, KKP is going to kickstart all the sub-elements that are going to use and that are going to create, allow us to manage the cluster. You're going to get your API server, the etcd configuration, machine controller, a scheduler, the controller, and the user control manager. So while this cluster that just created is spins up, I'm going to go to another cluster that I already created so I can show you how this looks like. So here you go back to the KKP and you select the project. So I'm just going to select Damian Test. And as you see here, I already have one created. After everything is created, you're going to get this beautiful image of your cluster. Here in the top, you're going to get your master cluster version. You're going to get all the information regarding that. Node memory, CPU usage, the cluster ID, region, provider, if it has an SSH key or not, when was created, and the health checks of each one of the elements. So now KKP does constant checks upon everything. Absolutely everything. So as you see here, I get an error, and this is related to my cluster being down before I started the demo, and I turned it on all my machines in AWS. And you're going to be able to see all of that, you know, the RBAC, who is managing the cluster, what is the admin for whitelisting, and this is very important. You can also add add-ons on top of this configuration. So let's suppose that you're working with some other open source solutions.
Right.
And as I mentioned at the beginning, as we are completely open source, we have upstream compatibility with any other open source solutions without any vendor lock that you have in here. So any add-ons that you want to put in here, you can actually add. And it's very easy. I'm just going to, for example, add Multus in here. I'm going to put to continually reconcile the add-on, and I'm just going to install it. And that's it. All of these add-ons are going to be deployed into all the machine replicas that I have. Now, when I go into my machine deployments, I have my master cluster in here, and I can go directly into my worker nodes. And when I go into my worker nodes, I'm going to get the same amount of good information related to that, meaning what is the main kubelet version, replicas, subnets, availability zones, when was created, the node labeling. And this is very important because as we built on top of vanilla Kubernetes, if you want to continue working via CLI and you want to use kubectl to continue working, you're more than welcome to do that. Right. And you can continue working as usual. What we provide is the orchestration, the automation, and the handling of all of that. So as you see here, I can check each one of my nodes individually, each one of my health checks, each one of my different changes that I have. So as I mentioned, we are completely self-healing. So let's suppose that I want to take down one of these machines. Something happened. So I'm just going to take one of these machines. As you see here is the same cluster, Optimistic Einstein. And I'm just going to shut down one of these instances. I'm just going to terminate it. Right. So what KKP is going to do is that via the machine controller, it's going to do all the health checks that I have. So you see here, I have two of them. And well, it goes down. Let's see how far it's going. It's shutting down the instance. KKP, it's automatically going to identify that something happened to one of these nodes. And it's automatically going to spin another version of the same machine so it can take the load.
Right.
Let's see if it's already terminated. All right, it's shutting the instance down. As you see here, it already detected that something happened with the machine deployment.
Yes, flag that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it kickstarted a new instance.
Another one,
So
yeah.
let me go back to my AWS instance so you can see it.
Yeah, it's starting.
As you see here.
Yeah.
So does this make sense to you so far?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I like the concept of, if clients want to do everything using, kubectl or kubectl, whichever term you want to use for the CLI, and that's kind of how they're used to using it. They can do that, but they can also have this kind of very rich interface to be able to, run through everything in a much more sort of UI based sort of environment as well.
Exactly. So as you see here, it already created the new machine deployment.
Yeah.
So let me go back to something that you're going to like quite a lot. And is that if you want to continue working with vanilla Kubernetes, here in the top, you're going to find an open dashboard.
Mm-hmm.
This dashboard is going to take you directly to the vanilla Kubernetes dashboard.
Right.
And it's going to allow you to see everything the way that you're used to see it.
Mm.
So this takes me directly to the default namespace, but you can coordinate this and you can change this to see whatever namespace you actually want to have.
Right.
So
cool.
Let me go back to my other project. So when I go back here to Cloud Demo, it's already saying that it was created 6 minutes ago. It already created the API server, the machine controller, the scheduler, the controller, and it's coordinating the etcd configuration.
etcd, yeah.
Right. So while it does that, you're actually going to be able to see the events and the RVC and the add-ons.
Right.
So while this cluster spins up, I want to shift to show you another one of the features that we have, one of the biggest ones, and that is the most used one. One that it actually attracts a lot of attention, and is that we have the ability to actually connect to pretty much any public cloud available at the moment. So what you see here is my more enterprise kind of lab. I have connected it to several different cloud providers, and out of the box, we also provide a lot of monitoring tools that you will find in a normal stack, Grafana, Prometheus, Loki. And we provide the ability to centralize the managing of this monitoring into a single instance.
Right.
So I have two projects created here as before. And as you see here, in one, I have one cluster that is created in Southeast Asia.
Mm-hmm.
And I have another cluster that is created in West Europe.
Right.
So as you see here, in the right, I got access to all my monitoring tools. I got Prometheus, I got Grafana, I got Loki. You also gonna have API access. So if you want to go deeper into this and you just don't only want to work CLI, but you want to work API, you're welcome to work directly via API and develop anything else.
Okay. So
Richard, before I show you the multi-tenancy, multi-cloud, you got, how is this sounding to you so far?
Yeah, no, I like that. I mean, I think this is kind of the sort of thing I wanted to really get you guys to demo, because there's it's not just another sort of a Kubernetes distribution. It's actually fully realized, and as you said, it's got a full life cycle to it as well, which I think is really useful, especially for those customers who do not have all the skills necessarily, or maybe just skilling up in this area, and also for those who have limited resources as well. You kind of want that sort of automation capability to be part of it. I think that's really something that from a technology point of view, sort of Kubernetes vendors put out, but they don't actually sort of look at this aspect of it, the management, maintenance, the entire life cycle. So I think that was kind of one of the uniques that I wanted to highlight about KKP, and that's really positive.
Excellent. So check this out. So what I'm going to do here is that in a single cluster, I'm going to manage different regions.
Right.
So what you said is very important. To handle KKP, you don't need to be a complete Kubernetes expert. You don't need that level of manpower that you require to have a full DevOps operation. You can actually just have a subset of admins that work through this user interface and monitor everything directly. So as you see here in this lab, I have several cloud providers. We support quite a lot of them. I already showed you how it works in AWS. I have some in Azure. So I'm going to create one in Google Cloud. And I'm going to create one in the Belgian region. I'm just going to select any cluster name that I have, and this is what I mentioned before. So when you don't want to have, or you don't have this expertise, you can select presets for everything. And you tell them directly where each one of the things must go. And the process becomes very, very simple and easy to use. So same way as I showed you before, I'm just going to randomize the name. I'm going to select your replicas. I'm just going to select the disk size, the region where I'm going to create this, the size. Micro, I'm going to delete everything as default. I take a look at this one, and I'm going to create the cluster. So now, in an enterprise environment, one thing that we care quite a lot is the governance of the data and compliance and security. So in terms of security, each one of the clusters is connected via encrypted communication via OpenVPN, because we want to make sure that this is completely secure. Sure. And in terms of governance of the data, as KKP, it's able of working, as I show you here in this cluster, we can work in several different regions with several different providers. It means that if you have an operation going on in the United States and you have governance of the data under HIPAA compliance, you can leave that data center over there. And we also work with edge locations. And you can centralize your operations, let's say, to Germany. And you can manage all your clusters in a worldwide level from one location without actually losing the governance of this specific subset of data. So if I create, for example, another cluster, and let's see if I have, which one I have in another region. This packet, I have it in the US. I'm just going to select it again. I'm going to select my preset again. I'm going to put any name. Let's see when it loads the packet. I'm going to select 2, 3 replicas. I'm going to select next, and I'm going to create a cluster.
Right.
So for whitelisting, this is very important, because as you see here, you can have several regions, several clouds. But if you want to have user self-service, you can create your users. So if you have here, you go to the members, you're going to see who is the member of your organization. You can create service accounts, and you have control over them. So let me just go here real quick, and I'm going to select user settings. If you see here, you can select which is the visibility of each one of the users up on a specific projects. So if I go back, I should only be able to see a specific subset of projects that I have. I'm the owner, I'm the super admin of this account. I have visibility of everything. Sure. But in a self-service world, in an operation where you want to divide this, and you want to have the people from the US taking care of the US, Europe taking care of Europe, you want to do this directly. Cool. So how does it sound so far?
Yeah, so that's, I mean, that would be perfect for an organization that's actually growing, because then you can delegate, tasks as you maybe get more technical people in those regions that you maybe didn't have at the beginning. So as your organization grows, maybe you didn't have an SRE in the US, for example, and you, as you said, you're based in Europe or whatever. But then when you actually do hire an SRE in the US, you can actually then give them this level of access, or a particular level of access, so they can actually take care of their region, so to speak, and then offer the services to to the company in that region, and they can take care of that aspect of of all the clusters and all the platforms. So yeah, absolutely, that makes sense. And I think this is again one of the things I wanted to really sort of see in the demos, that we can KKP is very capable of being able to divest some of that sort of control and management per region, or different offices and in different locations, while still maintaining sort of the overall control and governance and so on from a central location.
Exactly. So let me go back to my other lab and let me refresh this one, so we can see if this has already completed the creation. So I can show you directly how this goes. So when you have the life cycle of your clusters, as I mentioned, you're going to have them here directly, and you can manage everything in the life cycle. So I'm gonna go to this cluster that I already have created, so I can show you something that I think is very, very cool, and that happens very often in the operations when you're working with microservicing, which is updates.
Yeah.
Those can be very convoluted. So the way that we handle that is via the same element, the machine controller or the operators. We're able to change the machines with just a couple of clicks. So I want to increase the change on my replicas. I want to change the kubelet version. I want to downgrade it. So I'm going to go from 121 to 199. And I want to change the size of my machines. So remember I mentioned that you're able to work with golden images. So let's suppose you create a new golden image of your Apache Maven, your Spark, whatever you want to have. You can select a new MIID, so you can upgrade your application at the same time. So I'm just going to select save the changes, and the deployment is going to automatically take place. So as you see here, it starts doing the health checks and it starts creating the new application. So this is important because we don't want to have downtime. Applications and services must always be running. Downtime is not acceptable, and we understand that. So what the machine controller is going to do is that if I go to my AWS instance, it's going to start creating the new machines with the new kubelet version that I wanted. And it's always going to have the machines that you had before running right until the moment that all the new deployments are ready. And then it's going to route the traffic and it's going to continue, business as usual. Which means that if you're working with an application that requires constant connectivity and you're upgrading one version to the other in a green-blue deployment, you can easily push the changes without actually having to go through a Git approach. You can actually create your golden image and put this directly out there.
Right.
And KKP is going to take care of every single step of the way. It's going to take care of everything. So if I scroll down here in the events, you're going to see every single thing that it's doing, to which node. It's going to assign the IDs to everything, and it's going to make sure that everything works the way it's supposed to work, right?
Yeah.
So if I wanted to delete something, for example, this cluster that I just created, it usually depends on the creation of the machines, but I just want to delete it completely, everything inside it. I just select delete. And I can select clean up everything. I want to clean up the connected load balancers. I want to clean up any VPCs, volumes, and anything that I just created, for compliance reasons. If you have repayment strategies within your company, do compliance. This is the best way to go. And KKP takes care of everything. It deletes the machines, deletes the nodes, cleans up everything, so everything is nice and neat, and you're not going to incur into any extra changes that you have in here.
Cool.
So as you see here, my upgrade is already taking place.
Yeah.
It's changing from small instances to bigger, smaller instances.
Yeah.
And I can just go back to my cluster and see it in action. You see, so it's already creating the new 119 versions.
Yeah.
Jumpstarting everything.
Yeah.
All right.
Excellent. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So in a very high level, this is the main functionalities that we offer in an enterprise level. Our main goal when we created this platform was making sure that speed, adaptability are met, but also that the human cost and human operators are removed, and that the expertise that you actually need to build a team around this is not so costly. So you can actually have, you can go from a team of 10 people to handle 400 clusters to just 2 people, 3 people to handle the same amount.
Sure.
All the operations, lab cycles, upgrades, add-ons are automated. And if you work with vanilla Kubernetes and you're still used to working the same kubectl namespace kind of fashion, you can still do it, and you can add your own touch to it. Because as this is fully open source, you're welcome to improve, to let us know, because this is fully community driven.
Great. Well, Damian, appreciate that very much. I think that was really good demo. Obviously, there's a lot more detail into in the actual platform that we can go into. Perhaps we can do that in a sort of a future talk. But and obviously, as I said, we can't really sort of do that justice today. But this was a quick sort of flyover in terms of the the capabilities of the KKP platform, and we kind of wanted to see how easy it is for customers to be able to manage their environments, create clusters, and remotely manage sort of clusters and environments that are not necessarily within their own region, but they can sort of buy those off and be able to start those as well. So in terms of the customers wanting to actually see a demo of their own and doing evaluations, what's the best place to go?
Sure. So you can always reach us out via the website, kubermatic.com. You can also look for the Kubermatic Git directly via, any browser that you got, and you're gonna get a very good subset of instructions how you want to do it. If you want to do it on your own, if you want to involve us, get the website, or you can reach out to me directly as well at Damian@kubermatic.com.
Excellent. Okay, it's very brave of you to give that out. Excellent. Well, Damian, it only leaves me to thank you. A very useful demo, as I said. I really appreciate your time and for taking the time to actually do this demo for us. And I wish you and Kubermatic much continued success.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me again, and you're doing Lord's work in the cloud environment, and deeply appreciate that you contribute so much to it as well.
Amen. Thank you for watching this talk. If you enjoyed the content, please comment, share, like, and subscribe. See you next time.